Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Stone. Welcome to Congressman Ted Lieu's annual Veterans Appreciation Event, Conversations with Veterans. I'm a Navy veteran and the past Chief Deputy Director for Los Angeles County's Department of Military and Veteran Affairs, and I'll be one of your MCs today. My co-MC is a longtime friend, Dr. Nathan Grazier. Nate is a social worker, an Army chaplain in the California Army National Guard, and he has been deployed numerous times. He is also a tireless advocate for veterans and military families. He has led multiple veteran initiatives throughout Los Angeles, including the Los Angeles Veterans Collaborative. He currently works for the Southern California Grant Makers. Nate, it's so glad and I'm happy that you're here to join us today.
Well, thank you, Stephanie, and welcome to the many community members who've joined us today. Congressman Ted Lieu has organized this special event, which is actually created by the author Sebastian Junger, who wrote a book that many of you may know, Tribe, and that's exactly what we're doing here today, is telling the stories of veterans and our warrior stories. As you may know, this is a lost art. There aren't opportunities for veterans to be able to tell their stories, and so we're recovering that tradition today. Thank you, Congressman, for kicking this off. And in the tradition of warrior storytelling today, veterans will describe the pride, the grief, rage, or quiet appreciation of life that service brings from serving their country, that it bestows upon them.
That's right. Each veteran will be given up to 5 minutes to speak about something they've experienced while in the armed forces. This event is solemn and nonpartisan, but it's also fun and inspirational. Non-military veterans, non-military viewers are invited to listen and to learn.
But before we get started, I'd like to mention that this program is being recorded. You probably saw the button and said okay. And it'll be posted on Republican Ted Lieu's, Representative Ted Lieu's U2 Republican and Facebook pages later this week.
Let's begin by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance if you're able, and remain standing for the national anthem. Leading the Pledge of Allegiance is Aaron Greenberg, better known by his friends as Ronnie. Ronnie is 93 years young, a veteran of the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Regiment, known as the Old Guard. The Old Guard is the Army's oldest active duty unit, recognized for its ceremonial and escort duties for the president and for providing funeral honors at Arlington National Cemetery. The regiment serves as the official Army honor guard and escort to the president, maintains a continuous 24/7 vigil at the Tomb of the Unknown. At the Tomb of the Unknowns, and has caisson detachment that escorts the nation's fallen heroes. Ronnie served honorably from 1952 to 1954. Ronnie, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ronnie. And now our national anthem is being performed today by Travis Orth. Travis Orth, or Sergeant Orth, is been in the California National Guard for many years, and he happens to be a dear friend and a NCO of mine, NCOIC actually. Travis and I have served all over the world together, and most recently last year in the Middle East. He has a beautiful voice, and he's a gifted musician, and he's going to sing the national anthem now.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. In the rocket's red glares, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Travis, thank you. That was great.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce the host for today's event, Congressman Ted Lieu. Congressman Lieu is currently serving his sixth term in the U.S. House of Representatives, where he represents California's 36th congressional district. He serves on both the House Judiciary Committee and the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and has become a recognized leader in Congress on artificial intelligence, environmental protection, and veteran issues. Among his colleagues, Congressman Lieu was elected to serve as vice chair of the Democratic Caucus, making him the highest ranking Asian American ever to serve in House leadership. A proud veteran, Congressman Lieu served on active duty and later in the reserves with the U.S. Air Force, retiring in 2021 at the rank of colonel. Please join me for welcoming Congressman Ted Lieu. Good afternoon, Congressman. Oh, Congressman, you're still muted.
Thank you, Stephanie and Nate, for hosting this event and for your service to our country. Really appreciate it. It's my pleasure to be with all of you this Veterans Day weekend to honor active duty military as well as reservists and veterans for the sacrifices that they make for our country. I'd like to acknowledge Army Old Guard veteran Ronnie Goldberg for leading the Pledge of Allegiance, as well as California Army National Guard Sergeant First Class Travis Orth for his beautiful rendition of the national anthem. And I'm grateful to all of those who have tuned in today to join me in honoring our veterans. You're going to hear some wonderful stories from veterans who served, and you're going to be proud of our country as well as our military. And I just want to say a few words as to why we honor our veterans. So one reason is because it is the moral and right thing to do. The other reason is it helps our national security. We have an all-volunteer military. And when I served in active duty in the United States Air Force, it was clear to me that we were able to attract the best and brightest from our amazing country to our military, because they know that not only does the military treat them well and they can serve our country, but when they leave, they will continue to be treated well. And if young folks across America see that we don't treat our veterans well, that then becomes a disincentive for them to join. And so one of the reasons that we honor our veterans is not only because it's moral, it's also because it helps our national security and it helps our all-volunteer military attract the people to join the military to defend our country. It's one reason I'm so proud to have authored legislation that allowed the creation of permanent supportive housing on the West LA VA campus. The VA is soon going to open 5 more buildings for permanent supportive housing. That's going to bring the total number of units available to homeless veterans to over 700. And they continue to build more units as well. And I look forward to the West LAVA continuing to be a model for the nation in terms of providing tremendous medical care to veterans and their families, as well as providing housing for veterans who happen to be homeless. I also co-sponsored a number of bills this year to help veterans, especially homeless veterans, including H.R. 1957, the End Veteran Homeless Act of 2025, as well as H.R. 3869, the Every Veteran Should Be Housed Act. These bills would expand eligibility for VA homeless programs like the HUD-VASH program, supportive services for veteran families, and healthcare for homeless veterans. I am going to continue to keep fighting to make sure that our veterans are treated with the dignity that they deserve, as well as with the honor that they deserve. And so thank you again for all of you for participating today. We're going to hear from these tremendous veterans, and I'm going to turn it over now to Stephanie, who's going to introduce our first veteran speaker.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for all that you're doing for us. Our first speaker is veteran Miguel Gamboa. Miguel served in the United States Navy from 1997 to 2002, working as a cook in the officers' mess aboard both the USS Essex and the USS Bellawood. During his time in service, he had the distinct honor of preparing meals for senior Navy leadership. After leaving the military, Miguel earned his master's degree from Loyola Marymount University and went on to serve as a middle and high school principal for over 17 years. More recently, he worked as a peer support specialist there at the West LA VA Veteran Peer Center that we were just speaking of. And today he serves as an executive director at St. Margaret's Center for the Homeless Services. Beyond his professional achievements, Miguel is a proud husband and father who brings the same commitment to his families that he's shown throughout his career in service. Miguel, we're honored to have you here. Please tell us your story.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie, for the introduction. I'm grateful to be here. Just share a little bit about my story. I served as a cook in the Navy. Yes, a cook. On the surface, it might not sound glamorous, but it became the most important role. One of the most important roles I ever held. I worked in the officers' mess aboard both the USS Essex, the Iron Gator, and the USS Bellawood. People often ask me, why did you want to be a cook? Well, the honest answer is I never cooked a day in my life before joining the service. My mom always cooked for us, so I never had to. When I enlisted, I scored high on my aptitude test, and they showed me a list of possible jobs. The first one on the list said cook, stationed in San Diego. I was young, and San Diego sounded perfect, so I said, sure, let's do that. Well, that was my first military lesson. Things don't always go as planned. A few weeks later in boot camp, I learned I'd be training in Texas, not San Diego. I guess the Navy has a sense of humor too. Once in culinary school, though, I found I actually enjoyed cooking. Within a year, I was cooking for the Admiral and the officers' mess. I never knew if my food was actually good. I did have confidence in myself until one day the Admiral told me, these are some of the best enchiladas I've ever had. And in my mind, I've never cooked before. So I told him, thank you. And was just blown away. I realized I could be creative, add my own twist, and somehow not get yelled at by the Admiral and win in my book. Working in the officers' mess gave me a front row seat to history. I was there when Vice President Al Gore and Secretary of Defense William Cohen visited the ship. I can honestly say I never expected my life to include serving fancy meals while rubbing elbows with the Vice President. And yes, I made sure enchiladas were extra good that day. Then came a serious time in 1998 after the bombings of the U.S. embassies in Kenya. President Bill Clinton ordered a cruise missile strike on Al-Qaeda targets in Afghanistan and Sudan. Our ship's route changed overnight. We went on the highest alert. I remember cooking in the galley wearing a gas mask. And I was sweating, kind of like I am right now a little bit. Which made flipping eggs like defusing bombs. So we stayed at sea. Because of that, we stayed at sea for 45 days straight, much longer than the usual 20 days out at sea before hitting the port. but every cloud has a silver lining. At the 45-day mark, we had what's called the Steel Beach Picnic. The flight deck becomes a party. Grills going, music playing, people tossing the football, and yes, each sailor gets 2 cold beers. Let me tell you, the party was on. From all this, I carried 3 lessons: discipline, resilience, and teamwork. Being a cook often meant 19-hour days, but it also meant serving my shipmates, lifting their spirits, and occasionally becoming a hero when someone needed an extra slice of dessert. Leadership can come from any rank, and service takes many forms, even from the galley. My time in the Navy shaped how I live my life to this day. Taught me that service doesn't end when you take off the uniform. It becomes a mindset, whether it's for your family, your community, or your country. The call to serve really never stops, and that's just one of my many stories. So, thank you, Congressman Lieu, Janet, and the entire team, Stephanie, for your leadership and giving me the space to share my story. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Miguel, for sharing your story. Nate, when Miguel served aboard the USS Essex, the ship had just completed the Western Pacific, Indian Ocean, Persian Gulf deployment. During the deployment, the Essex participated in Exercise Tandem Thrust 97, a major joint training operation between the US and Australia. That exercise was historic, the first of its kind with Australia, showcasing the strong military partnership between our 2 nations and testing how both forces could work together in combined operations. Later that year, the Essex was relieved by the USS Bellwood, another ship Miguel proudly served on during his Navy career. 2 ships, 2 remarkable experiences, a true reflection of Miguel's dedication and service. Thank you, Miguel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Miguel. What an amazing story, and even that you got. I'd like to try your enchiladas one day. That's all I'm saying. Let's transition to our next speaker. Is the Honorable Patrick Fury, former mayor of Torrance. Pat was first elected to the Torrance City Council in June 2008, and he garnered the mayoral seat in 2014, and then was reelected in 2018. He's an attorney active in Torrance Chamber of Commerce and several nonprofits. He's an Army veteran and served during the Vietnam era. Pat, please share your story.
As was mentioned, I served in the Army during the Vietnam era, but I was an early conscript. I graduated high school in June of 1964, and I was inducted in October 64. And 23 months later, I was refrad in September of 66. I always considered that one of my greatest birthday presents ever. And I was let out of the military. But the benefits I got from the military were so wonderful. It taught me maturity. It taught me how to take care of myself. I learned how to work with others. When I first went in, as a conscript, you don't have a choice of where you're going. So I was infantry. And it, to be
Mr. Mayor, you're breaking up a little bit. Can we have you go back to talk about your experience in the infantry?
the Army actually.
It looks like we have a little technical difficulty, Nate.
Yeah.
Can we ask whether or not, did we lose Patrick?
If the mayor turns off his video, we could possibly hear him.
That'd be great. Mr. Mayor, are you still with us?
Well, I think we lost Pat. Maybe we can come back to him.
Yeah.
He's back. He's back.
Oh,
Mayor, we need you to unmute, please.
Okay, I unmuted myself.
all right. We got you back.
Yeah. So my last stint was in Fort Dix, New Jersey, which was not far from Philadelphia. I took all the tests to become a police officer in Philadelphia and did that. Then I took my GI Bill and turned that into an actual law degree here in California and became a practicing attorney before I retired from the county counsel's office and just before I was elected to the mayor's position in the city of Torrance. My funniest story, and I have to leave it with some humor, was that's my internal instinct, was when I went back for advanced infantry training. I was shipped to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and since I was a patrol leader in basic training, I became a patrol leader in AIT. And they marched us over to the supply. I have no idea what I was supposed to pick up, but when you're going into training, they're giving you new stuff. And so we went over to the supply sergeant, and I was the squad leader of the tall rank in the back, the fourth rank. So when we pulled up in front or marched up in front of the supplies, they right faced us. I was the very first person that the supply sergeant addressed. And he told me to sound off with the first two letters of your last name. As you can see, my first two letters are FU. So loudly and proudly, I said, FU, Sergeant. And when I did that, the rest of the rank were laughing hysterically. And I was just poker straight. And here's this 18-year-old kid.
Oh my gosh. I think we lost him again. Oh, that was an awesome story.
Dang.
Too. I can only imagine what happened after that.
I can only imagine, indeed. Yeah. What happens when you tell your sergeant FU?
There you go.
Everybody wish they could.
That's right. That's right. Well,
I want to thank the congressman for putting this on. It's really great to recognize there's so few veterans anymore. In fact, I was just at a city event yesterday, and we recognized that no members of the council had any military experience at all. And Congress is the same way. Years past, it was always a large number of people who have been military experienced, and now there's very, very few in the House and the Senate.
yeah. Well, yes, it's remarkable, and to have that service, continuing in service is incredible. And Pat, you're a great example of that yourself, actually, right? Found ways to serve post service. Pat, thank you for sharing your story. Funny. I think all of us who served would imagine what it would be like to say "F you" to our sergeants. So, Stephanie, actually, military basic training has changed a lot. And it used to have a much more heavy focus on like brutal discipline and memorization. I know when I went through it, certainly that way. But it's taken a much more modern approach, emphasizing physical fitness, combat skills, and adaptability. And a lot of the older training methods relied heavily on a lot of verbal abuse and physical punishment, endless push-ups. But modern training actually uses incentive training as a way to go forward.
Gosh, Nate, that's what they used to call physical punishment was incentive training.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. For our next speaker, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Janisha Miller. I'm going to slow down a bit here. Janisha is an event coordinator for Torrance Chamber of Commerce. We're staying in Torrance. She served in the U.S. Army as an HR specialist and met her husband in the service. They were stationed together in Afghanistan, and today she's going to be sharing a story of some of her experiences there. Janisha, tell us your story.
Thank you, Stephanie, for the introduction. I'm truly honored to be a part of this Veterans Appreciation event. And I want to thank Congressman Ted Lieu for giving us the opportunity to come together and share our stories. It means so much to see our service recognized and remembered in this way each year. Before beginning my civilian career, I proudly served in the United States Army as a 42 Alpha, a human resource specialist. During my time at Fort Riley, Kansas, I met my husband, who served as a 25 Bravo information technology specialist. And we were both assigned to the 4th Brigade, 1st Infantry Division, Brigade Special Troops Battalion. In 2012, we were deployed together to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, and we were fortunate to be assigned to the same base and even worked in the same building, where the S1 personnel, S3 operations, and S6 communication sections worked side by side to support the brigade's mission. Life in Afghanistan was unlike anything we've ever experienced before. The days could be brutally hot, sometimes climbing above 120 degrees, and the fine dust seemed to find its way everywhere. When winter came, the landscape that once scorched us with heat turned bitterly cold. It even snowed, covering the ground and rooftops, a sight many of us didn't expect to see in the middle of Afghanistan. Those mornings, we layered up in cold weather gear before heading to work. Our living conditions were simple but comfortable. We shared rooms with other soldiers, often turning small spaces into little reminders of home with photos and care packages. We had access to showers, and even the dining facility served surprisingly good meals, small comforts that made a big difference during long days. One of the most memorable and nerve-wracking experiences was during a late night indirect fire attack. The alarm went off and we rushed to take cover in the bunkers. Even though the attack didn't hit our area directly, the sound of motors landing nearby was something I'll never forget. Moments like that reminded us how quickly things could change and how much we depended on one another to stay calm and safe. As a 42 Alpha at the battalion level, my responsibilities included managing personnel actions such as promotions, awards, evaluations, and leave forms, and ensuring every soldier's records were accurate and up to date. In a deployed environment, this work carried extra meaning. It was about taking care of soldiers so that they could stay focused on their mission. Serving together in 4-1 BSTB taught us the true meaning of teamwork, resilience, and dedication. The Army gave us more than just valuable experience. It gave us a shared purpose and a lifelong bond built on service and love. I'm proud of what we accomplished together and grateful to share our story today. Thank you.
We'll do that again. Thank you for Janisha for sharing your powerful and heartfelt story. And there he is. There he is. Lean forward so we can see you. There you go. Thank you both for your service. And the way you and your husband supported each other and serving side by side truly embodies courage and commitment. So we're grateful for all you've done for our country and how you continue to serve your community today. Thank you again. So Nate, who's next?
Yes. Who is next indeed? Janisha, I can just tell you from experience, the 42 Alphas keep everybody happy. So our next speaker is Louis Figueroa. Louis was in the Navy from 1989 to 1991 and served as a bosun on an aircraft carrier. He had difficulty into civilian life and was a resident at the West LA VA domiciliary for a while. Later, he signed up for the Army Reserves, and he's going to share some of that experience with us today. Louis?
Okay. Hello.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Louis Figueroa. My first tour duty was I was 18 when I joined the Navy. I went to boot camp in San Diego. I didn't know what I wanted to be, so there's a thing called striking where you can go to a ship and kind of figure out what you want to be. And so I decided to go that route, and I got orders to go to the USS Carl Vinson. And I asked my drill instructor, I said, who's Carl Vincent? What's a Carl Vincent? And my orders were to meet the Carl Vincent in Diego Garcia. And again, what's Diego Garcia? So it took about 2 days to get there. Yeah, I found out it was 200 miles off the coast of India where I met the Carl Vincent. So it was a pretty little island, but so we had to wait for it to just to come from to pick us up, basically. And I remember seeing it off to the distance, and it goes, "That's your ship." So we went on like a little boat to the Carl Vincent. I remember first stepping on board of that, and I was like, "This is the biggest thing I've ever seen." So it was an aircraft carrier, and I wanted to be a firefighter or something like that, but then I saw how tough and chaotic things could be. So I decided they put me in supply, and I moved up a little bit, and I ended up being in the officers' quarters, and I was working with the cooks in the officers' quarters, which is great. They were eating good, and I prior to me joining the military, I had a thing for helicopters and jets. So it just so happened that I got to help feed the pilots. So I got really close to the pilots and the helicopter pilots, and that was great. It was really exciting. I really loved it. We went out. We did the end of a Westpac. I don't know if you saw the pictures of me, but there's the picture. I don't know how it survived this many years of a thing called WOG Day. That means it's pretty big in the Navy. It's a tradition. So when you're in the center of the zero longitude, zero latitude, they drop anchor, you get initiated, and you become a shellback, and it's a big thing. So that's a picture of me when I was a shellback, and we did some flight ops in Iraq in '91. However, when we pulled into port in San Diego, I took leave, and then that's when I saw on the news that everything was going on. So I called the ship and I said, "Are we going back?" And they said, "No, we're going to Bremerton to go dry dock." So that's what I ended up doing. And I finished out my term there at dry dock. I didn't really care for Seattle. It rained a lot. I'm from Southern California. I'm not used to snow, rain, sludge, all that other stuff. But my being out to sea was a really, really awesome experience for me. I really, really enjoyed it. However, I asked my unit. I said, I'm not feeling it here in Bremerton. Can I go? I want to go back out to sea. And they said, well, you can transfer to another ship. And I said, no, this ship is part of me. So wherever this ship goes, it's part of me. I'm loyal to this ship. So that was that. So I'd say about a 15-year break in service. I was struggling to, I was an electrician, but I wasn't in the union or nothing, and I just had my daughter, and I was struggling to find permanent work. And so I told my ex at the time, I said, I'm see if I can go to the reserves or something, and maybe they could pay for me to go to heavy equipment school, because that's kind of what I was doing in my civilian job. I always did construction. And so I signed up for the National Guard, Army National Guard. I was out of Long Beach. It was okay for a while, and then uh, they said we can't send you to your A school yet, or the AOS school. A, wait, yeah, okay, yeah. So we can't send you to school yet, but you can cross train with us. And I was like, well, what do you guys do? And I was attached with the combat engineers. So what engineers did, they dealt with explosives and working with machine guns and doing like a lot of like kicking in doors, infantry stuff with explosives. And I was like, this is kind of cool. So I did that, and I did a little bit of heavy equipment stuff on the side when we went to drills and stuff like that. And I went down to the California-Mexico border. I think it was in when Obama was president. And I met a friend, a battle buddy. I don't know if you got, well, of course you guys know what a battle buddy is. We got really close, and we did a lot of things together. And I remember him telling me, everybody called me Fig. So he goes, Fig, I'm going to Iraq. And I told him, I said, you're going to be all right, man. You're a good dude. You're going to be all right, man. God's got you and stuff like that. And found out, once I got out of the Army after a few years, I found out that he was killed in Iraq. And that just, it spiraled for me. It was really tough on me. Having dreams of being in the military, and I really, really loved the military, except the reality of it. That that threw me for a loop. The reality of losing somebody or someone dying in war. On top of that, the actual scenario of a war. It's not what you see on TV and stuff like that. You know, they glamorize it. It was pretty gnarly to have that, to have a friend die in killed the way he was killed. It was an IED, and so I really I struggled for many years. I'm able to actually tell that story without completely bawling, which I give myself permission to do because I was raised where men don't cry and this and that. We're tough guys. I was like, I don't think so. Have you ever talked to a Marine that's lost somebody, or somebody in the military has lost somebody, or anybody who's lost somebody, they cry. So I gave myself permission to cry. However, uh, it gets from bad to good. So I started drinking a lot, and I really got caught up on that. I wasn't getting help from I didn't know I had PTSD. I knew I was there, but the bottle self medicating really masked everything that was going on inside of me, and it kind of fueled everything. And I was with an aggressive unit. They just came back from Iraq, and they were pretty aggressive dudes, and that was tough being around aggressive people, hard drinkers, and they were showing me the battle scars and all this stuff, telling me about all this stuff in war and stuff. So it was a lot. When I got out, I didn't have absolutely zero coping skills except self-medication. And my ex, she actually says, she left. She took the kids and she was afraid of me. And I thought this was normal. She goes, aren't you a vet? Why don't you see if you can get some help? And of course, at that time, come to find out now that a lot of vets have their pride and we don't want to ask for help. And I was that way at first. And then I started off in Loma Linda. It was just weird out there. I didn't like the way I was being treated. So I came to West LA, and I saw that I was getting better, treated better, but I wasn't ready to become sober. So, uh, shit. Oh, okay, sorry. Somebody called. I thought I got disconnected. So I wasn't ready to get sober. And so finally, I kept on relapsing and getting kicked out of the program, but I kept coming back. And the people there at the West LA VA, they kept on, welcoming me with open arms. And I was like, well, this is strange how people are caring for me and stuff like that. I'm not used to this. I'm used to, people running from me. And one of the facilitators who I'm still friends with today, he was in the Navy. He was a commander. He was on an aircraft carrier, and he was awesome. He's got many titles. But the one thing that helped me the most is he loved me until I could love myself when nobody else did. That's why I'm still friends with him, because he showed me a whole new different way of loving myself. And so I was in treatment for, I don't know, maybe in West LA as a patient. And a civilian came with music. The therapist said, I just got off the phone with somebody. He's going to bring some musical instruments to a group and see if it helps, right? And I was really isolated. I didn't want to do anything. I was just afraid of change. I was afraid of everything because I was just so, in my darkness. So I said, okay, so I'll give it a shot. And I remember the first session, him putting an electric guitar over me. He had all this equipment. And from that moment on, I was like, all right, this is going to change me. I never gave my chance a chance to learn anything or try anything different that I always wanted to do. And from that first session, I've never looked back. So I've been a musician at the West LA VA for going on 8 or 9 years now. However, 2 days ago, I just celebrated 11 years of sobriety. So, and I went to PTSD groups. I went to all this. I told on myself, basically. Everything that was holding me back and holding inside, I let it all out. Really get good doctors, really good psychiatrists, psychologists, all that. I took as many groups as I could, mindfulness groups. As a matter of fact, they actually, Mr. Figueroa, you've already taken this class 3 or 4 times. I think you got it now. It's like, no, I want to make sure it sticks. So this is a VASH housing where I'm at now. This is the longest place I've had in almost all of my adult life because of my behavior, because of this, because of that, and I give back. I still volunteer at the West LA VA. I'm so grateful to be around veterans. My military career isn't as broad as a lot. You know, I didn't finish school like college and stuff like that, but I'm giving back, and that means that's more rewarding to me. And you know, we've really gotten a lot of support with the music group, and we've been doing this all out of pocket for years and years and years and years. My kids, my ex, you know, everybody. I'm still friends with my ex. It's just we just can't. We're not. She still drinks. So anyway, but my kids are good. I have my son. I've had him for 10 years now. He's never seen me drink in the last 11 years. Or he just graduated high school. He's got a girlfriend. He's got a stable job. You know, when he comes to both of my kids, when they come to me with Dad, you know how it's hard after the hard day's work. When I told him, I said I used to drink. Well, you know, when I had a stressful day, but I don't have that luxury anymore. You don't have to have that. You don't have to do that. So there's a different way of me, you know, teaching my kids and them seeing this person. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I'm really grateful for the people at the West LA VA. I'm really grateful to see it develop. You know, I was there when the tents were outside. So I remember that.
Yeah.
And then they came inside, and then now they're. Yeah, I'm there every Monday, and I see the construction, and I'm going. This is so great. I'm so glad that the vets are getting the housing and the things they need. And what I'm just trying to just to be an example to other veterans who are struggling with. And I've lost a lot of veterans.
You really
real
have
quick,
been already, Louis. You really have been already.
yeah, the only funerals I've ever been to was a friend of the family who was killed in Afghanistan, and a good friend of mine who was in the band, and he died from alcoholism. And I went to his funeral at West LA. So I'm still trying my best to deal with. I got veterans from the Vietnam era who are still struggling. They call me. I don't judge them. I understand how difficult it is. So I have my hands full as far as like volunteering and stuff, which I'm very grateful to do, and try my best to help veterans the best way I can. And but it is a pleasure to see how much development and support we're getting now, and that I'm still doing what I'm doing. You know, I'm still going there. Been doing it for years now, volunteering, and
Yeah.
you know, to meet Janet and Mr. Lieu and everything. And this is great. Just to be in part of this is just really really fantastic, and to be able to tell my story from having it really rough to becoming sober, and it's all due to the West LA. I mean, I really went through all the resources there, and I got my housing from there and everything like that. I'm really grateful. So
Well, thank you, Louis, and thank you for your story and for incredible act of courage to find yourself. Right, it takes an enormous amount of courage to lean into that and to find a way to give back. And the thing that really resonates with that is that a lot, you know, we don't always go on a straight road, right? Sometimes we bounce around a bit, a little bit like the stock market, up and down. But you found a way to give back, and I think the part that really that stuck with me there is even the way you serve now in the West LA VA band. You found a way to serve and to play, and actually, our Green and Gold fellow Roxy Otto went out and shot a video of the Veterans Band performing locally. So Louis is the bass guitarist, and so here's a clip of them playing "Knocking on Heaven's Door."
Mama, take this brush off of me. I can't use it anymore. It's getting too dark to see. I feel like knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knock.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties getting the PowerPoint to play right now. So let's give Nico a second or two to see if we can get it rolling. Otherwise, we'll play it later.
Wow. We had steel drums. We had all of it there. Saxophone. Amazing. Look, the band is actually made up. You can look at these pictures. The band's made up of an incredible group. Lead guitarist John Bonvalere, Louis on the bass guitar, Terrell James on the rhythm guitar, Eugene Martin on the drums. You got Jerry Smart on the drums, Coco Bandit in the percussions, on the vocals, and then saxophone and band coordinator Mark Lawson Shepherd on the keyboard and harmonica. Dang, what a crew. Maybe want to just kind of hang out a little bit. Stephanie, who's next?
Oh, I'm still into the music. Okay, let's move on. But again, thank you, Louis, for reminding us that music and the arts have a place for all of us. Next, we have Richard Jellerson. Let me just say our next speaker, Richard Jellerson, is a longtime friend and colleague from the Hollywood American Legion Post 43. Richard is a former U.S. Army helicopter pilot who served 2 tours in Vietnam. He now writes books and produces documentaries, speaking about the arts, inspired by all of those experiences that he's had. Today, he'll be sharing a story from his first tour, a memorable medevac mission during his time as a combat assault helicopter pilot. Richard, take it away.
Thank you, Stephanie. Louis is a tough act to follow, though, I got to say.
Yes.
I don't have quite the cheery story that he did. I was an Army helicopter pilot, did 2 tours over there in Vietnam. And the first tour was combat assault. And matter of fact, some definitions might help. Combat assault is really just the marriage of infantry and helicopters. It was a concept in Vietnam. We proved it, worked the bugs out of it. And one of the best features of it wasn't the ability to move the infantry around quickly. It was getting their wounded to hospital care quickly. And the combat assault, the unit I was with, you had to prove yourself constantly. We flew very, very tight formations. And as soon as you made aircraft commander, which means you're no longer a co-pilot, you have a co-pilot. You had to fly the last aircraft in the formation. Nickname was Tail End Charlie. And if it was a 5-ship flight, you flew the 5th ship. If it was a 9-ship full infantry company, you flew Chalk 9. And the reason for that is because you still had to prove yourself. You were a brand new AC, aircraft commander. But everybody needs to trust you. You had to have an enormous amount of trust in everybody you flew with. And we would pick up the infantry at their camp and fly them into a landing zone, drop them off where they could mix it up with the enemy. And then stand by, one ship would stand by to pick up their wounded. And then when that battle was over and they needed to be moved somewhere else, the entire flight of 9 perhaps to pick up the whole company would fly in with gunship cover and pick them up and move them off to another battle zone. And I am a brand new aircraft commander. I'd just been voted in by the rest of the platoon. So I have a Huey that is mine. I have a co-pilot, door gunner, crew chief, and I am flying Chalk 9 to pick up an entire infantry company. We land next to their camp, and a Huey can generally carry a squad. That's 5 or 6 American infantry. So a squad gets on my ship, and I recognize right off the guy in charge is a guy named Sergeant Johnson. He's got to be 19 years old. And there's no fist bumping or thank you, how you doing? It's all business. I forget exactly what we were doing that day, but we're coming in from the south. The tree line on your right when we land has enemy, and the gunships are going to be taking care of that. So we take off and we get to the LZ, and American GIs knew that the preferred target for the enemy was a helicopter. And when they would jump off the ships, and it didn't matter if it was rice paddies or mud, they would jump off and land on their stomach and lie flat until the ships were gone. So we drop them off and we take off. And as tail end Charlie, one of my roles was to notify flight lead that we were all out. And the way you did that was just said, lead, this is tail end. You're off flight of 9, which meant all the ships were working. And immediately after that, I'm 1 to 2 minutes out of that landing zone. And the infantry calls up, they already have wounded. So I break out of the flight, and fortunately, a couple of gunships came with me, because now I'm the only target on the field. And I loop around and come in, and the infantry is going to pop smoke, so they'll land close to the wounded. And I come in very fast, slid a couple of feet, and stopped. And I look out the cargo entry. We didn't have doors, we took them off, but look out the side, and 3 infantry guys, pop up in the elephant grass, and the 2 on the outside are carrying the one in the middle. And because of the elephant grass, which was 3, 4, 5 feet, all I could see was their upper bodies. But I'm sitting there where it's very colorful. The enemy had Chinese and Russian ammunition, which had green and white tracers, and all of our tracers are orange. Very, very colorful. But the 3 guys come over to the right side, and I'm watching instruments. We're still at full RPM. We're not going to certainly roll back to idle in that situation. But they placed the wounded guy on the bench between the door gunner and the crew chief, the canvas bench there. And one of the infantry guys wants to stay with him. And I look around, and the wounded guy was Sergeant Johnson, with both legs missing. And there's blood everywhere. And I don't know why I looked around. I really don't. It was my first day as an aircraft commander. I'd done medevac missions as a co-pilot, but this was different. And I looked at him, and he's in so much pain. His teeth are bleeding so hard that his gums are white. And his buddy that wanted to stay with him is trying to stem the flow of blood. And all of this took place in less than a minute and a half, probably less than that. But he saw me looking at him, and I wished he hadn't done this, but he gave me a thumbs up sign. I don't know why. Anyway, my job then is to get him to the medical people as fast as possible. So I picked the ship up, and I think the closest hospital pad was 20 something miles away. And I pushed the plane right up to the structural speed limit, which is called velocity never exceed. And we didn't climb for altitude because that would have wasted time, and I didn't know how much time he might have. So 10, 11 minutes, I have him at a hospital pad, and the medics come out and take him away. And I never, of course, saw him again. And I don't know if he made it or if he had bled to death on the way to the hospital pad. But I learned a couple of things that day. We did a lot of medevac missions after that. Now, there was medevac units that did nothing would go out and pick up the wounded on both sides, incidentally. And they flew Hueys without guns. They were unarmed. The only thing they had going for them was a big red cross on the nose and on the doors. But since the enemy hadn't signed the Geneva Convention, it really meant nothing. As far as the enemy was concerned, those big red crosses were just a great target. But I learned that day that through the rest of my tour, about 11 more months, I never looked in the back again. Now, called it denial or cowardice or whatever, but I just couldn't look in the back. I didn't want to. I just wait for my door gunner and crew chief to say, let's go. And we would take off. And that's the story that someone in the congressman's office wanted me to tell out of my book. And it's not very cheery, but I'm just glad I made it home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard, for sharing your story. It's men like you, the reason why I joined as a Navy corpsman. I just truly appreciate your service. Nate, the average person doesn't know that medevac pilots were the enemy's immediate targets during combat, and they face some of the highest casualty rates of any occupation during the war. The personal toll that it takes on a soldier to be a medevac pilot is enormous. I read part of Richard's book, My War with Vietnam, a Pilot's Healing Journey Home from the War, and you can feel the emotional turmoil these guys go through, their courage, their sacrifice. It saved so many lives. Thank you again, Richard.
Thank you.
Nate?
Yes, thank you. And unfortunately, our next speaker, Richard Cooks, couldn't be with us here this afternoon. But he is the commander of the Culver City DAV, Disabled Veterans VSO, and a sergeant in the military, and fought for his country over 30 years and served all across the world. So maybe we'll have another chance to hear him in the future.
I hope so. Well, let's move on to our next speaker. Again, another dear friend of mine. Our next speaker is Pat Pitts, an Army veteran. As a Navy veteran, I'm wondering why I'm getting all the Army vets, but that's for another conversation. Go Navy behind. Pat served as an operating room nurse, enlisting during the Vietnam era and continuing her service until the war's end in 1975. Today, she's an artist who channels those experiences into creating beauty through her work, and you can see some of it from over her left and right shoulders. She'll be sharing a story from her time in basic training, one that reflects both the strength and the creativity that defines her journey. Pat, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stephanie. What an honor to be here amongst the veterans, and I'm just so touched. Before I begin, I just want to let you know how touched I am to be honored to speak today. But I hope to lighten the mood just a bit with the wig story that I want to share with you today. So first of all, good afternoon, veterans. I was enlisted during the Vietnam War and served until it ended in 1975. This story comes from basic training. It wasn't funny when it happened, but today I hope I can make you laugh. It also shows a big change in me and maybe what many soldiers experience while serving their country. Picture this, leaving home, flying probably for the first time like me, then in the middle of the night, riding a rocky road in a crowded bus full of strangers. All of us were just terrified. Finally, the bus pulls into the barracks and you think, man, I'm finally going to get a chance to sleep. But no, you're handed a bucket, some cleanser, and told use a toothbrush to scrub the grout in a filthy shower. This is a true story, y'all. This is true. So you scrub and you scrub, and by sunrise, it's horrible. A few of the recruits are collapsed on the bunks, civvies and all. We hadn't even been issued our uniforms. But at 19, I decided to do my hair. I'm going to do my hair because I really don't need sleep, right? So inside my pink Samsonite suitcase, I have a lye-based hair relaxer. Some of the African Americans in this audience know what the story is, where it's going already. I'm in the mirror smoothing my perm when someone yells, "Mail call, mail call." I ignore it. Just got here. Surely there's no mail for me. So I'm just combing my hair. As I keep combing, a figure appears behind me in the mirror. Her name is Sergeant Garcia. She's short, a little stout, but terrifying. I'm 10 inches taller, but I swear I felt like I was 2 feet short. And I'm from South Central, y'all. I was scared of this person. She barks, "Fallout Burns." That's my maiden name. I want to say, "Sergeant, I need to wash the perm out of my hair," but I'm too frightened to object. So out I run, perm and all, into 102 North Carolina degree heat. The lye starts cooking my scalp like a science experience. I stand in formation for what feels like forever, watching bubbles form around my hairline, while another sergeant reads name after name slowly. Finally, we finish, and I race to the shower. And heaven, my hair feels so good under the water. But when I look down, all my thick black hair is swirling down the drain. Oh man, luckily I became prepared. I had a wig in my suit, in my pink suitcase. And as most women do, we're prepared with different hairstyles. So I took the wig and I said, well, I'll just wear the wig. Still at 19, I was devastated. No hair, bald. And it was only the first week of basic. So anyway, I wore the wig. I wore the wig when I was sprayed with tear gas. I wore the wig when I climbed up this and slid up and it slid down my neck. I wore the wig. I wore the wig on the firing range and I watched Garcia watch me through all this. And she was smirking at me, but I fired and I qualified as a sharpshooter, no matter what. I wore the wig running obstacle courses in brutal heat while others fainted. I wore the wig until it flew off as I climbed on a helicopter. I snatched it in midair and put the wig back on my head. And I looked straight at Sergeant Garcia. She snorted, "Burns, take that damn wig off." And something inside me changed. I wasn't afraid anymore. I stood my ground, looked her right in the eye, and said, "If you want my wig off, you take it off." She stared at me for a long moment, like a lion about to pounce its prey. Then her face softened. She cracked a real smile and said, "At ease, Burns." And that's how I earned more than my sharpshooter medal. That day, I earned my voice and became a soldier. And I want to give a shout out to my kids at the Gompers Middle School, and I want to thank all the veterans today. Thank you and God bless all of you.
Thank you, Pat. It was great to take a look back with you and laugh now. I'm sure it wasn't so funny in the moment, but it was wonderful hearing about it. I just want to go back and just note one thing, that during the Vietnam era, Army nurses served with extraordinary courage. Nearly 7,000 women answered the call and 8 gave their lives in service. They worked under unimaginable pressure, treating hundreds of thousands of wounded soldiers and achieving a remarkable 97.4% survival rate among those admitted to military hospitals. That's the same spirit, courage, and resilience that continues in every generation of service members. Nate, I'll turn it over to you to introduce our next speaker.
Mm. Wow. Well, thank you, Pat. Wow. So our next speaker is Jack Summers. Jack was the captain in the Marines who was deployed twice to Afghanistan. As a result of a grenade blast, he developed post-traumatic epilepsy, and today he works with nonprofit Cure Epilepsy to get the word out to other veterans who might be suffering from similar injuries. Jack's going to share a little about his story. Jack?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And once again, Representative Lieu, Janet, Nico, Stephanie, Nate, Ava, and your entire team, thank you so much for all of your support and providing me the honor to be here today. So, once again, my name is Jack Summers. And if you think you recognize me, but we haven't met, it's probably because I've been told I look like Bill Paxton for the last 15 years of my life. So, uh, but other than that, I served as a captain in the United States Marine Corps from 2007 until 2012 as an infantry officer and deployed twice. I was stationed at Camp Pendleton and had the honor to serve in the 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines. My first deployment was with the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, where I served as a visit board search and seizure platoon commander. This deployment came shortly after the Captain Phillips incident, which was then later made into a movie with Tom Hanks. And our unit was sent just where he was in the Gulf of Aden, which is just north of Somalia, at the end of 2009, as my platoon was the battalion's anti-piracy element. It was a thrilling and really unique mission. We were dropped out of helicopters by fast roping, sometimes upwards of 50 feet up, onto moving ships, certainly high adrenaline operations that demanded precision, teamwork, and absolute trust, as many of you have talked about that trust. And I loved every moment of it. My second deployment was to Sangin, Afghanistan in May 2010, one of the most kinetic / dangerous and heavily contested areas in the country at that time. Our mission was to patrol the area and protect our forward operating base from attacks. One day while on patrol, a grenade was thrown over a wall and landed very close to me. I dove into a small ditch just before it exploded. Although I was shaken by the blast, I believed I was fine and continued to serve alongside my Marines and sailors in combat operations. About 60 days after returning home, I ran the Thanksgiving turkey trot with my family and friends outside of Chicago. And after crossing the finish line, I suddenly had my first seizure and blacked out. I didn't lose consciousness, but when I came to after a couple of minutes, I was disoriented and confused, unsure of where I was and what happened. And even more so, many of my family and friends were there, and this was the first time seeing me since I arrived home from Afghanistan, and I didn't recognize them. I didn't understand why they were asking me about a combat deployment. None of it made sense. And so at some point, I started walking away from the group. And then I started noticing, oh, I recognize that house, or I recognize, this baseball field. And eventually I was able to make it back home on my own. So not long after that, I began training to serve as an advisor to assist with the Afghan National Army and Police. During our final training exercise before deploying, I suffered a grand mal seizure, this time in front of my Marines. I was told I could no longer deploy. After 3 seizure-free months, I returned to duty in a similar advisory billet, hoping things had stabilized. Unfortunately, within a few months, I had another grand mal seizure, again in front of my troops. That episode led to my medical discharge. I was told I could no longer carry a weapon and that I might be a danger to myself and my men, which is absolutely true. Since that first seizure, I've had more than 100 seizures and cycled through approximately 50 different treatment plans, including brain surgery. It took over a decade to receive the correct diagnosis, refractory post-traumatic epilepsy, or PTE, which was then traced back to the brain injury I sustained from the grenade blast. As an infantry officer, I learned about the concept of a blast radius. Many of you are probably familiar as well. the area of destruction caused by an explosion. Over time, I've come to see epilepsy and traumatic brain injury as having its own kind of blast radius. Every seizure is an explosion, and the damage extends far beyond the individual. It impacts families, friendships, relationships, goals, and dreams. Each seizure leaves behind its own kind of destruction, fear, and uncertainty. Coincidentally, and strangely, 4 other Marines in my unit also developed unexplained seizures after arriving home from our deployment. This kind of delayed onset is not uncommon. It can take 10 or even 20 years to appear in its first seizure. But the lack of accurate and timely diagnosis is unacceptable. Many veterans experience similar symptoms and don't realize it's a result of a traumatic brain injury, many in training, not necessarily in combat. They may think it's anxiety, stress, or burnout. Because we often look healthy and high functioning, the deeper damage goes unseen. Today, I serve as a veteran advisor for the VA Epilepsy Center of Excellence, the Southwest region, and contributed to the development of the National Plan for Epilepsy Act and related policy efforts on Capitol Hill. I also work closely with many nonprofits, including Cure Epilepsy and the Epilepsy Foundation, to raise awareness about post-traumatic epilepsy, traumatic brain injury, and other conditions that too often go undiagnosed among veterans. I share my story to reach those who may be suffering in silence, to remind them that help is available and that they deserve to be seen, understood, and cared for by specialists who truly recognize what PTE is. If you or someone is navigating through a similar journey or something that may sound similar to my story, please, I would love to hear from them. And please tell them they're not alone and you're not alone and all of your stories matter. So once again, thank you so much. And it's an honor to be here. And thank you to the veterans here. Your stories are so inspiring and mean the world to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you for the courage it takes to share your story and to and to creating a space where other people could feel maybe be seen. Right, when we don't see these invisible wounds, it can be hard to. We think maybe something's wrong with us, and I think you've given people permission to say, "Hey, maybe there's something else going on." So thank you. My hope is that your story will help other veterans and their families maybe find some answers and get some healing that's desperately needed. Well, Stephanie, we're getting to the end of our group. Congressman Lieu, do you have any closing remarks?
Well, thank you to all the veterans who shared their stories. I hope you've been inspired by hearing these stories and that you have an understanding and appreciation of our veterans. I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to all the veterans who joined me today, as well as the people who are watching. And I prepare congressional certificates of recognition for all the speakers that will be mailed to each person. It reads, in recognition of sharing your story at the Conversations with Veterans event and with sincere appreciation for the sacrifices you made for our country. So thank you so much. And I'd also like to particularly thank the following people. Ronnie Goldberg, U.S. Army Old Guard veteran from Playa Vista, for leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you to Travis Orth for your beautiful rendition of the national anthem. I want to also thank the Veterans Band and their musical director, Mark Larson Shepard. And a special thank you to Stephanie Stone and Nate Grazer for providing their excellent skills and their tremendous ability to deal with things that came up. And thank you for ad-libbing. You were fantastic. And also for your service to our country. I'd like to thank my staff as well, to Janet Turner, who organized this event, Nicolas Rodriguez, my Deputy Chief of Staff, and to Special Staff Assistant Ava Cross, and to Green and Gold Congressional Aide Roxy Otto. Thank you for all your help in putting on this program. Today, we heard from veterans who represented the major branches of the armed services, and as of you may know, I also served in the U.S. Air Force, and those who serve in our military and families make great sacrifices. And so let's appreciate our veterans, not only on Veterans Day, but every chance that we can. And thank you again for joining us. And Stephanie and Nate, let me turn it back to you.
Thank you, Congressman. Yeah, again, it's been an honor, and thank you for hosting this event each year and for your continued commitment to honoring our veterans. I want to send out my thanks to all the speakers and, of course, to our singer, Travis Earth, and the members of the Veterans Band. It was wonderful to hear all your stories, and to my co-host, co-MC, Nate Grazier, for helping make today's program so special. Nate.
Yeah, well, Stephanie, it's been great working with you, as always. And you, Congressman Lieu, today. What a cool opportunity to be able to hear from vets and people to share, really to bring those stories in home for us. And a special thanks to all the community for coming out to support our veterans and show your appreciation. As Congressman Lieu said, we may do Veterans Day once a year, but really every day we're here because of people who make the decision to serve and protect our way of life. So we're going to end with a PowerPoint presentation that shows you some pictures of our speakers today, back when they served, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy them.
And just as a reminder, this program was recorded and will be uploaded to Representative Ted Lieu's Facebook page in a few days. So feel free to let your friends and neighbors know. This concludes our event today. Be sure to look at the photos that will follow and have a great Veterans Day. Goodbye, all.
Goodbye, all. Thank you.